This video is sponsored by Squarespace. If I snapped, if tomorrow you found out that I ran off into the woods and started digging a hole in a log with a spoon, it would have been this game that made me do it. Street Dude Homeless Empire, a homeless simulator mobile game. The developer for this game is not a small fry, but rather one of the giants in the mobile gaming industry. A developer who has over billions of downloads, a reported hundreds of millions in revenue, making a game like this. And then I decided to look deeper and download a lot of their games, and a bunch of their games are really questionable. I'm not saying that the mobile games industry is one of the beacons of hope for humanity, but it gets to a point where we have to have some standards. And today it has gotten to that point. Let's dive into what this company is putting out there. What are the games that are getting this company billions of downloads, and are they good? Could I perhaps be wrong about Street Dude Homeless Empire? Have you got what it takes to survive on the mean streets? Being homeless probably isn't one of your life ambitions. No. But wouldn't it be good to know that you could thrive as a hobo if push came to shove? See how the underclass lives in this unique sandbox game that challenges you to overcome the rules of capitalism and rise from zero to hero to become the richest street urchin to ever live. Hundreds of millions in revenue from this developer, and they're pushing out a game calling disadvantaged people the underclass, challenging them to overcome the rules of capitalism. Yada 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 yada. Beg, borrow, and steal as you level up your way to the top. Just because you're homeless doesn't mean you have to be goalless. Honestly, it feels like one of those phrases that would just be burned onto a wood sign at an out-of-touch home decoration store. And they call this thing an ultra-realistic simulator. So first of all, you open up this game and you're immediately digging through trash. Like, that is a core mechanic in this game, that you have to dig through trash to level up. Something nobody wants to do, but some people have to do this when basic necessities aren't met. It's now being turned into a time-wasting, annoying, tedious part of a mobile game tycoon. It is beyond dehumanizing. And then of course, you know, another core mechanic in the game is taking your bat and whacking people. So you're cycling from garbage scavenging to whacking people with a bat in the realistic homeless simulator. And then as you upgrade in the game, you go from noob to loony level. Then you go from that to madman. And then you go up to beggar level. And then to the level crook. And after all of this, there's a disclaimer at the bottom that says, "We know that anyone can find themselves in difficult life situations through no fault of their own. And we have the greatest sympathy for those who end up unhoused. They deserve to be treated with the same dignity and respect that we should accord to all human beings." So you can see this developer has quite a few interesting creations. Muscle Rush Destruction Run, Monsters Lab Freaky Running, Betrayal 3D Imposter Hunt. So I actually decided to try their Delete One Part series because they have really questionable ads for those games, okay? Like really questionable, like, what is the lady hiding? I don't know. Her legs. God forbid she doesn't want to show her shins. So I wanted to see, is this just a tactic to get the game to sell? Or are these levels actually in the games? And I was playing Delete One Part 2. I got all the way to level 9, didn't really see anything weird. And then level 10, we have a double whammy. They were making up for lost time here. We've got a watermelon on the loose. Is it the baby? Or is it Miss Melanie? Finding out who actually stole the watermelon here really bothered me. Not because they're trying to make a joke here where she's holding melons, but because it says who stole a watermelon, yet it shows her holding two. Level 13 felt like a personal throwback. One time I did surgery on an orange, so it resonated with me actually. Tried playing Delete One Part 5, and I noticed in the game they actually have a collection of profile pictures, and Walter White is in this game. Level 4 in this game was, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, right? Level 9 is also weird. It makes you wonder, at what point is it a game, and at what point is it something else? I like how it says get rid of the monster, and instead you're getting rid of the skyscrapers. You're right. The real monster is the concrete hellscapes we find ourselves in. Demolish all Walmarts. Go back to trees and mountains. Make Earth look like a Windows wallpaper. Now, a lot of their games are so unoriginal, it turns out they've actually gotten into some hot water with cloning allegations that they've had to respond to. There's this game Unpacking, and I guess they had an app called Unpacking Master, which was basically a one-to-one ordeal when compared to the game Unpacking. Like, the orientation of these 3 items is ridiculous. Folded jeans, light green weights, because the weights could really be any color, but they're still the same color, light green, and then that gray piece of clothing. Their response was basically, oopsie, it was an accident. We didn't know it was basically the same. We just wanted to build upon the concept with new ideas. Still convinced that there is a big difference between a clone that completely copies the original and a game that builds on an existing title where the original idea is supplemented and improved. If this practice did not exist, the FPS genre would have stopped at Wolfenstein 3D. To look at Wolfenstein and the evolution of the FPS genre and all the innovation that's occurred there and compare it to, I don't know, this image in the article is crazy. 2 of their projects I would say are not very original would be the Blocky Quest game, where you play a very sad version of Tetris, and in between the levels you unlock very sad AI art. Their game Fruit Clash is just another fruit stacking game, because those have been all over the App Store recently. And the very first ad I got while playing it was yet another fruit game. Life is poetic. And here's what I don't get right. They're copying the game mechanics, right? But they're also copying the idea of it being fruit. It's all a bunch of round things falling on top of each other. It doesn't have to be a fruit skin. Like, you could have made a game where it's just a bunch of fat little round hamsters being thrown on top of each other in a pile. Or cats, or planets even. Like, there's so many different things you could have done here instead of just making fruit drop game number 9,999. Show me fat hamsters. Because, like, maybe I can almost get behind it if we're doing that. I noticed on their States Builder Trade Empire game, somebody left a review basically saying they felt scammed by the app due to the transparency of the purchases, saying they basically felt a little bit misled by what was going on. And the developer responded to this with just your typical, thank you for your feedback. But at the end of it, they say, we wish you a lucky and hilarious day. Hilarious? You wish them a hilarious day? The review says, false advertisement, be aware. And instead of debunking that by saying, yeah, we don't do that, which you should, I'm not saying they do false advertisements. I'm just saying that if somebody's leaving a review saying that, you shouldn't treat it as a joke, telling them to have a hilarious day. I tried the game Lazy Jump, and in it, I noticed the strangest thing with the ads in the background, okay? This was an ad I got in the background of playing this game. No one flops better than me, they say, quite frankly. I jump higher than Joe Biden. Doesn't have hops on me. A sad thing I realize is when you look at the top apps out there and you see this sea of really questionable stuff, the visuals in these apps indicate a complacent society. And that's not me trying to be deep, right? I'm not trying to be faux deep here. I'm just saying, when developers do this, it would indicate that they think apps only need to appeal to people's most basic impulses and they don't need to appeal to their minds. Let's put bright colors to get their attention because God knows nothing else will. Let's make it look simple, void of details, because we want to make sure it's applicable to the largest amount of people possible. We don't want any objects that could look slightly aesthetically offensive to any of our target demographics. Keep it plain so people can't really have any strong opinions. And make sure the features and the gameplay style is so familiar, so unoriginal, because God knows our players can't learn something new. They don't have time for that. If they try to learn a single new mechanic, they'll explode. All that is to say, it would seem they think you're stupid. They think the average player is dumb as rocks. Some people might think that it's okay to just have this standard in place for games if it's mainly kids playing them. And I have to say, okay, the game might be passable to a kid playing it. But, I mean, don't you just want to do nicer things for the next generation? Like, yes, they will probably survive playing this game. They won't disintegrate on the spot, but I don't think it's bad to want for more. With all of that being said, after looking at everything today, it's pretty safe to say that the mobile gaming industry has seen better days. If you have any good idea for a game, right? Like, if you want to make something yourself, now would be the time to go put something of quality out there because people need it. If you you have a great developer mind. Put it to use. Now, I would just like to take a moment to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform that makes it incredibly easy to succeed online. If you're just starting out or you're managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it incredibly easy to create a beautiful website, engage with your audience, and sell anything from products to content to your experience, all in one place, all on your terms. For me, one thing I really like about Squarespace is that they make it really easy for you to make amazing video portfolios. You can upload and organize your videos, make amazing video libraries. This gives you control for your content to be your content. And another thing I really like about Squarespace is that they make it easy for your website to get discovered incredibly fast. They have amazing SEO tools where every website is optimized to be indexed with meta descriptions, an auto-generated sitemap, and more, so you appear more often in search results. And something about Squarespace that I find really neat is that they give you the power to fundraise on your site and grow your impact. They have really good built-in donation tools, and they even have email campaign and marketing tools, so you can connect with more people and get more people to support your cause. So if all of this sounds interesting to you, you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Savantics to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. A huge thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.